Good day. Welcome into First Take on a Wednesday. Thank you for being with us. Stephen A. under the weather. He's been running around all over the place covering all these sporting events.
The first couple hours of sleep he's gotten in like a month.
I doubt he's sleeping, but hopefully he is.
Hope so.
Thank you for pinch hitting on short notice. Always good to have Super Bowl champ
I'm going to send Stephen A. the invoice. Don't you ever worry.
He can afford it, so don't you worry. And we got a cast of characters joining us. Marcus Spears is going to be here, Kendrick Perkins, Vince Carter, Monica McNutt, so we'll have a lot of fun. It's a game day, y'all. Pivotal game for tonight in Milwaukee on ABC. Giannis and the Bucks will look to build off their Game 3 performance and even the series. As for the Suns, they've got their game face on and then some. I'll let Chris Paul explain.
It ain't golf. It's not tennis. You know what I mean? We all in this together. So everybody on our team took the loss hard, as we should. You know, we never go into a game expecting to lose. You know, if you show me somebody who expects to lose, I'll show you a loser. And so everybody on our team felt a way. We felt like we could be better, and that's why we used yesterday, we'll use today to prepare, and we'll all come out ready to play tomorrow.
Gotta like that mindset with Milwaukee looking to tie it up. The Bucks are seeking to overcome a 2-0 deficit for the second time this postseason. The Clippers are the only team in NBA history to overcome multiple 2-0 series deficits in a single postseason. Don't forget, they did it this postseason as well. Key, I'll start with you. Who has the edge?
I would start off by saying it's the Milwaukee Bucks for sure, in my opinion. You have home court advantage. You're at home. You know the fans are going to be sick, crazy, drunk, having fun, and causing problems. Plus, it energizes your team. It energizes guys like Jrue Holiday and Middleton. On top of that, role players for the Phoenix Suns, they struggle on the road, and that's throughout the NBA. Whenever guys are role players, they tend to struggle on the road. So when you look at that, Phoenix is on the road. All they got to do, as far as I'm concerned, in Milwaukee, is stay the course. Do exactly what they did in Game 3, starting off with Giannis. Allow him to use that big frame and that big body in the paint. If he does anything outside of dominating the paint, I'm going to take issue with that. Do not shoot three-pointers. No, no, no. Maybe if you're up by 30 and you feel good about it and you just want to pull it at that point in time. But outside of that, no. Dominate the paint. And then allow Jrue Holiday to do what he did in terms of getting all up into Devin Booker. And when Devin Booker decides that he wants to pass the ball to Chris Paul, slide him over to Chris Paul and try to get up in that. When he's off the court, allow PJ Tucker to do his thing. So I believe it's the Bucks with the edge because home court advantage in these playoffs is extremely important.
Well, look, for Game 4, I agree. It's the Bucks with the edge. And what you mentioned about role players is interesting to me because you know who's great at home usually? Chris Middleton. But Chris Middleton, because he show up on the road big as though he's not a role player, as though he's a star. Remember, I've been saying Chris Middleton is usually good, sometimes excellent. That's why he's usually not an all-star. Once in a while he is. He's made 2 teams in his life. I was talking to Andre Snellings, Dr. Andre Snellings, our very own ESPN. And on my radio show, Max Kellerman Show, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Shameless.
Get that in.
Radio, you know it. And he was saying it's not that Middleton, he's right about this, not that Middleton's usually good, sometimes great. It's that a lot of times he's not good. And then sometimes he's amazing, right? And it averages out to what he is. So there at home, Middleton might have an amazing game. And Key, what you said about the crowd juicing these guys at home, no doubt. We saw it with the Bucks. And now with that, no Dario Saric, and if Ayton winds up in foul trouble, the same thing can happen. I like the Bucks in Game 4. I still like the Suns in the series, though. Yeah. They still have home court. They still have the 2 most dynamic players in the series are both in their backcourt. And as much as Giannis might want this, I don't think anyone in this series wants it more than Chris Paul. So I agree with you for Game 4. For the series, I think the Suns still have the
advantage. It's going to go back and back ping pong. The home team wins, right? You go 2-2, you even the score. Now you go back to Phoenix. They win. Now you go back to Milwaukee. They win. And then in the end, it falls in Phoenix's lap. And at that point, Game 7, anything can go.
Right.
Do you expect a big game? Go ahead.
No, until the road team wins a game, it's whoever has home court's probably going to win.
Do you expect a bounce back game from Devin Booker? Because we've seen what he's done with the back against the wall.
Devin Booker is the type of dude you could smell it on him, but you saw it in the bubble last year. You're seeing it in these playoffs. If he could have a bad game again, he could struggle for a couple games. You're not going to keep him down for a whole series. He's not built like that. Devin Booker is. If the Milwaukee Bucks are thinking that Devin Booker, we have this under control, I'm sure they're not. But they don't. Devin Booker's going to explode, and they're going to have to be prepared for that. They're going to have an answer for it.
Well, I think when you look at it, Drew Holiday has to be the answer for it, though. If you want him to have the same type of shooting night, 3 for 14, or something very similar, 10 points, or something very similar to that, you got to do exactly what you did in Game 3. Don't change. Don't change at all. If you think about the defense of the regular season for the Milwaukee Bucks, they were probably one of the top 2, if not the best defense in all of the NBA.
Guys,
why not carry that into
real quick,
Hold
Molly?
on 1 second.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring in, because we got another champion with us.
Gotcha.
Kendrick Perkins on the line. Big Perk, you there?
Why am I looking for him?
Yeah, I'm here. What's going on, Molly?
There he is.
There he is.
All clean,
Showing
all
up like
black.
a hitman on the air. Look at this.
Perk, have you been hearing us on who's got the edge in the series?
Yeah, I've been hearing it, Molly. I've been listening
I'm not hearing
to
him.
it.
Are you,
Me
Max?
neither. I'm not hearing
All
Unfortunately.
right,
it.
we'll work on getting Perk.
me-
Max, you pick up your thought.
And I have to remember what it was. You were Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday's defense.
said
Drew
it
Holiday is a great defensive
I'm not giving
guard.
you no room, though.
What? No. What
I'm
I'm
not
saying,
giving you no
what I'm saying
room.
is Drew Holiday's a great defensive guard against smaller guards. He can lock up smaller guards as well as anyone else. Bigger guys, and Devin Booker's not miniature. You
But
know,
the problem-
bigger guys can torch him.
But the problem is, if you Drew Holiday, I'm underneath you. Where you want to put the ball at, I'm right underneath you. I'm right there. I'm not giving you any space. I'm harassing you. I'm being aggressive, just like I was down 2-0. I got to take that same mentality in 4.
I just don't know
if
if you
I
can-
don't. If I don't, then you're gonna. If I give you that space, yes, you're gonna torch me. But if I'm smaller than you, I'm up on you. You want to put the ball on the ground, I'm right up underneath you. I'm not allowing you to have that space.
But he has been. There have been games, even in this regular season, where he's gone against longer players and got lit up. You know, and Devin Booker's the type of dude who can score.
But I'm
from
paying you
anywhere.
$100 and something million to be exactly what you were in Game 3. I think he can duplicate that in Game 4.
That's the issue with paying someone. I mean, I'm happy Drew Holiday got his money, but the issue in the NBA is when you can't get a Chris Paul. Right? He's on the trade market. Oh, we can't get him. We can't match up salary. What are we going to do?
Yeah, but
you
let's
can
not
trade
act
for
like
Drew Holiday.
But Max, let's not act like Drew Holiday is chopped liver.
No, he's good. He's a very good player.
Good
And a clutch player. And a clutch player.
He had a
But put
great
it this
game
way.
three.
Play both ends of the floor when he's on.
My point is, if the Bucks ownership, those hedge fund dudes, wouldn't have played Milwaukee cheap, which they did, and they would have signed Brogdon, they didn't want to because they didn't want to pay that luxury tax. They let him walk and got no compensation. Then when Chris Paul's on the trade market, you have stuff you can match up and bring him in. And if Chris Paul were on the Bucks win the chip this year.
Yeah, but
I don't
you
think
can't
they
start
do.
thinking about the ifs, though, Max.
No
you
doubt.
can't worry about when they didn't pay somebody luxury tax because you didn't know that you were going to see Phoenix in the finals. You had no idea you would even be in the finals. You hoped to be in the finals, which they landed
lucky
in the
to
finals.
be in the finals.
Well, shoe here, shoe there, yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of that
exactly, yeah.
luck because of injuries. That's where I want to go now.
Right.
Key, your city, but not your team. So these playoffs have been devastated, by injuries. Kawhi Leonard, just one of many. Leonard had surgery to repair his partially torn ACL. The Clippers said the surgery on Leonard's right knee was successful, and there's no timetable for his return. Leonard missed the team's final 8 playoff games with a sprained right knee, and the Clippers enter the offseason with Leonard's health and future at the forefront. Kawhi has a player option in his contract and can choose to opt in for $36 million in 2021-22. Leonard doesn't have full bird rights, and that would restrict him to a 4-year, $176.2 million deal. That's real money. If he declines the option, according to Bobby Marks. I'll start with you, Keith. What does this mean for Kawhi's future in LA?
It means nothing other than signing that extension for 4 years. Why even think about leaving and going anywhere else? I mean, you had the short stop in Toronto. You won the championship, but you put this team together essentially in Los Angeles with the Clippers. You went out and got Paul George. You were part of the decision-making to move on from Glenn Rivers, who was Doc once upon a time, but now wants to be called Glenn. You decided to say, hey, we want to move on from this, and you're important to the city. This is what you wanted to do. So talking about leaving or going somewhere else just makes zero sense. Plus, Ballmer's not going to allow that to happen. He's going to do everything within his power, along with Ty Lue, to keep the top player on their team. Why wouldn't you?
Damn. Doc goes 10 deep in the playoffs instead of shortening the rotation, and Key took his PhD away.
He the one said he wanted to
He
be
wants
referred
to
to
call
as
Glenn.
Glenn Rivers. So I'm
I know.
trying my best
Being
to say
respectful,
Glenn
yeah.
Rivers and not
That's
Doc.
going to be
man.
hard
gotta win another championship, then
That's
it's
going to
back
be
to
hard
Doc.
to break, though, because we've been calling him that for so many years. But yes, we will.
This is the thing about Kawhi. I don't think he should leave LA either. And my guess is he won't, although people have been talking about Miami, and you could understand why. But in LA, he has a great coach and an excellent team. And I believe, had he not been hurt, they would have won the championship this year. You know what I think is going on with Kawhi right now?
What?
Because we always apply this to LeBron. And it happened to Kobe. And since Michael Jordan, like once upon a time, you did not have to win the championship every single year. And then people were saying, what's wrong? You didn't win the championship this year. Like Magic and Bird traded years where they won championships.
But the problem with this now, no, Max, is you're putting it together to win the championship. So we're expecting you to win it.
Okay, but not. The point is this. LeBron is held to the Jordan standard. Every year he doesn't win the chip. What happened? So is Kawhi, though. Like, Kawhi has been finals MVP twice.
Together to win the championship, though.
Eventually, it doesn't have to happen in years one or two.
But when you go out there and you tell your organization, go get me that, go get me this, that's because you're trying to win right now.
Well,
you're not saying go get me this, that.
Let me ask you
2 years, 3 years.
I have a question. Okay, so let's say Kawhi, in the first 4 years that he's a Clipper, wins a championship. Is that a huge success?
But we're not waiting 4 years.
But it's already
For
been
the Clippers
two.
franchise,
We're not waiting.
It's already been two.
I get it.
And if the next 2 years he wins one, he did it.
But those first 2 years have been a disappointment to people like your friend Marcellus Wiley, who is a Clipper fan. That's a disappointment because we went out, we gave up draft picks, we spending money, we fired a coach. That's what we wanted to do.
I wouldn't say it's a disappointment yet, because
it's such a disappointment.
That's my point.
Such a disappointment.
We all have to take a step back and say, no one's Michael Jordan. As soon as you give him a crew, he wins it every year. There are going to be years where you don't win it. Kawhi wins one with the Clippers. It's a
this
success.
is not the Brooklyn Nets and KD. KD signed with a torn Achilles. We knew 1 year was going to be wasted. Last year, whether bubble or not bubble, they got bounced.
If the Clippers win one chip in
bounced.
Kawhi's tenure with the Clippers, is it a success or not?
It's a success.
That's it.
Yeah.
But they didn't sign up for 5 years from now. They signed up for today.
Yeah, that's okay. Not only one team can win it.
All right, agree to disagree. First you don't succeed, try again. Hey, Perk, you got me now.
Yeah, what's going on, Molly?
Okay, good. Get in on this. Where are you on this subject?
Well, first of all, Max is all over the place as usual, right?
I'm in one place, right here.
Leonard, no, you're all over the place again.
Don't mischaracterize
because you
me.
were the one that said, you're the one that said when it matters the most, when it's in the playoffs, you're rolling with Kawhi because Kawhi delivers championships. He went to L.A., why? To deliver championships. He left everything that he had in Toronto. They wanted to give that man everything in Toronto after he won the championship. He forced Paul George to force a trade out of Oklahoma City. He gets whatever he wants, private helicopters to the arena, to the plane, sitting in private suites. He has the red carpet laid out for him. By the way, he had an opportunity to go across the street and join LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers alongside with Anthony Davis. He said, no, I'm going to be your competitor. So with that being said, I'm rolling with Keyshawn on this one. It's to deliver championships now. But guess what, Max? Guess what, Max? It's not going to be a championship no time soon with the Los Angeles Clippers due to Kawhi having season-ending surgery for us with his ACL.
Now, look, it's not going to be this year, and it's because of his injury. Otherwise, I'm telling you, it would have been this year. They would have beaten the Suns. They went 6 games without Kawhi. Of course, they would have beaten them with Kawhi, and they would have beaten the Bucks. And Kawhi had Giannis's number when he was in the Eastern Conference. When LeBron went to Cleveland, LeBron's better than Kawhi, okay? But when LeBron went to Cleveland, in 4 years, he delivered one championship. One. It was a huge success. If Kawhi delivers a championship to the Clippers in the first 4 years, it's a huge success.
LeBron
won.
Going back to Cleveland and getting one championship is not Kawhi coming from Toronto to the Clippers.
Actually, if you could argue it's a bigger accomplishment for Kawhi to win with the Clippers. They've never been in the Western Conference Finals even.
Whenever LeBron would have won a championship for Cleveland, a team that drafted him, that he took him to a championship as a youngster, and parted ways with them to go to Miami, coming back to save the day.
It's Kawhi's fault he was drafted to another team?
He came back to save the day. LeBron cashed in and did what he was supposed to do, so he left again. Kawhi assembled this team, put it together, wanted them to win now. They're not saying, we're going to sign Kawhi in 2020 to win in 2025.
That's
not what they're doing.
They're not saying that now. What I'm offering is a different perspective. Kawhi, from the area, didn't have a choice where he was drafted, maneuvered his way back to his hometown. If he wins a championship in his tenure on the Clippers,
They're gonna take
it's similar to what LeBron did in Cleveland.
No, it's not. It's not.
No,
it's
it's
not
not.
similar to what he did.
For
No,
a
it's not.
franchise that's never even
No,
been
it's
to a
not.
Western
No,
Conference
it's not.
Finals.
First of all,
No.
there was bad blood in
Max.
Cleveland when he left. So that was a whole nother situation.
Yeah, what's up, Perk?
Max, here's the difference with LeBron James, all right? Drafted in Cleveland, left Cleveland. The owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers and Dan Gilbert wrote a harsh letter about LeBron James. He called him a Benedict Arnold. LeBron James left and went to South Beach, delivered 2 championships, still could have stayed there with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and probably would have won 2 or 3 more, to be honest with you. He decided, he said, you know what? I'm going to put my pride aside. I'm going back to Cleveland, a team that had been in the lottery every single
hold up,
year.
Perk.
Matter of fact, I think they hold on, Max.
Yeah.
I think they probably had 3 out of the 4 years LeBron James was gone. They probably had 3 first picks overall in the draft. I'm going to go back to Cleveland because I have unfinished business. I owe it to my hometown. I owe it to every fan in Cleveland, and I'm going to deliver a championship there.
Hold up,
He
hold up,
took
hold
the
up.
team to the finals.
There is no perfect analogy. And by the way, LeBron magnanimously leaving the Heat when they may have been on the downside and going to Cleveland, who already had Kyrie, who then had the draft capital to go get him Kevin Love, is not exactly like him saying, I'm going to a place where I can't win. He waited until Cleveland was in a position to win with him.
They were
went
not
and
in
won.
a position. You
Max,
remember
He didn't win
Max,
year 1. He got
Max,
hurt. But
they were not in a position to win.
He got hurt year 1, and as a result, they went 6 games with the eventual champions and then lost. It's exactly what's happening with Kawhi in year 2.
Max, it's not what's happening with Kawhi because Kawhi and the Clippers never made it to the finals. And then second of all, even with Kyrie, they never made it to the playoffs. So LeBron James went to a team, again, that was in the lottery every single year that he left.
in the
They're
lottery.
still
Yes,
in-
and as a result,
they're
they
still-
acquired
they're-
enormous draft capital.
He got rid of half the
They
team
are
when he
st-
got there to get better
That's
players
true.
to help them
That's
win.
right.
That is true.
He got Kyrie,
Stop.
and he knew that with the first overall pick, they could make a trade for a superstar, which they did in Kevin Love. So he had Kyrie and Kevin Love, and he went to that team with Kyrie and Kevin Love at the time looked
Max,
as good
just
at
take
least
the
as
L,
Bosh
man.
and Wade,
Max, take the
based
L,
on
man.
where
Max.
they were in their careers.
Max,
Take the L, man.
Max,
Delusional.
Max,
You think I'm
can I
taking
say
the L
this?
here?
Take the L, man.
Molly,
Yeah.
can I
This
Molly,
is so
can I
good.
say this to Max?
Yeah, go ahead.
Molly, can I say this to Max? Tell me how many playoff appearances did Kevin Love and Kyrie have before LeBron James teamed up with them?
Kevin Love was not on a good team. He, as the best
Yeah,
player on the
just
team, would
answer
win
the-
about 40 games in the
just
Western
answer-
Wait,
Conference.
could you answer the question?
He was a perennial all-star,
Max-
and
No.
so was Kyrie.
Kellerman,
Can you ask
please
the question?
answer the
Answer the
question?
question,
All right,
please.
Because none
All
of
I
them were
did
on
was-
good teams, but he brought them together.
All I asked you to do was ask me. You said he
Yes,
saw
it's a leading
greatness
question.
in Kyrie and Kevin Love or whatever. I asked you how many
Designed to
playoff appearances
elicit an answer that
did
makes
either
it sound
one of
like you're
those
making a
guys
good
have?
point when you're not.
Okay.
And then
When
when
everyone talks at the same
LeBron
time.
left, where did the Cleveland Cavs go from
They
there?
still,
No doubt.
Keyshawn, they still in the lottery. Every
No
time
doubt.
LeBron leaves,
No
that
doubt.
team goes
LeBron
in
can
the lottery.
LeBron can get you there. But are we going to pretend that he wasn't playing with 2 other All-Stars?
But all I'm going to say to end this one here quick, Molly,
Yeah.
is that Kawhi is staying in L.A.
Okay.
He's going to sign his extension. Why
He is.
follow LeBron James to Miami? I just don't see it. You wouldn't come with him around the corner like Big Perk said to go in the other locker room. What the hell are you going to go to Miami for now?
Especially when you're from California.
And my point is, the Jordan standard, which says you always have to win the championship every year, is an unfair standard to apply, maybe to everyone except LeBron, because LeBron's on that left, Kobe's on that left. But Kawhi's not quite. If Kawhi wins a single championship,
I'm not hiring you as my general manager,
If
man.
Kawhi wins a single championship while he's on the Clippers, it was a resounding success, and I believe he
But Max, I think part of it is because he could have stayed in Toronto. He had won a chip there.
They weren't going to win another one. in
Molly,
Toronto.
nobody is paying. Kawhi didn't do all this to wait 10 years to win a damn championship. It's every single year.
No one was beating
And
LeBron
it's the whole
and AD
King
last
of LA thing. It's to compete
Yeah.
with
Well,
the
that's-
Lakers. You know this. It's right now. It's that rivalry at Staples. Come on. All right, that's all she wrote. That was fun, guys. Still to come here, Adam Schefter has the latest on Aaron Rodgers, and it's quite telling. We'll bring in Big Swagoo to react to the fact that Rodgers may be gone from Green Bay. Plus, half man, half amazing, lived up to the latter part of his nickname in the 2000 Olympics when he dunked all over France. According to training camp, NFL season right around the corner, and I'm not mad about it. Here's Adam Schefter with the latest.
We also continue to wait for an answer from one Aaron Rodgers, who very easily could have dismissed all the speculation that's going on around him with a simple statement of, I'll see you at training camp, or I'll be there on opening day. And instead, we haven't gotten that. Because the fact of the matter is, the truth is, he doesn't want to be in Green Bay. He hasn't planned to be back in Green Bay. Now, we'll see whether the Packers and him can come up with some sort of compromise that can lure him back there. But I don't believe, and I think Aaron Rodgers knows this, that he wants to be back there, nor plans to be back there at this time. He just hasn't come out and said it. Look, the fact of the matter is he loves his coaches, he loves his teammates, he loves many of the people that he's worked with, but not everybody. And so this obviously continues to set up as the storyline of the summer. We'll see how the Packers handle it. But the one thing I feel very comfortable and confident in saying is Aaron Rodgers does not want to play there anymore. The question is whether they can convince him to do it, and I don't know how that is going to work out.
All right, we'll digest that for a second. Marcus Spears on your screen. Good to see you, sir. Good vibes only. We're only speaking positive things and thinking positive thoughts, right, Swaggo? That's what it is.
You know it, Molly. Let's stay positive in here before Max get going.
Right.
Let's just keep it positive.
We stay grateful. All right, I'm going to start with you. What does this say to you? What you just heard from Aaron Rodgers, Adam Schefter, all the latest.
It's confirmation. I mean, look, this is something I've been on for a while now. But when you think about what Schefter just said, I think the most important part, and I thought about this when this question was formulated, it's probably best that Green Bay goes ahead and moves on to Jordan Love. I mean, I get it from a football standpoint, and obviously people talking about Super Bowl, and this is the best opportunity that Aaron Rodgers has at winning the Super Bowl. I hear all of that, right? But the team that Aaron Rodgers goes to outside of Green Bay has a damn good shot at winning the Super Bowl as well because he's their quarterback. I go back to a game against the Chicago Bears when DeShone Kizer had to come in as the quarterback when Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and the Green Bay Packers, with a good offensive line and run game, fell off a cliff. And then Aaron Rodgers came back with a hobbled knee and brought them back in that football game. So Aaron Rodgers is the difference between your team being a Super Bowl contender or not. That's not to say that the Green Bay Packers haven't done a good job of building a roster and getting defensive pieces. But the bottom line is, at this point, with Aaron Rodgers trying to make his mind up and the season fast approaching, when we talk about training camp happening in less than 2 weeks, it's time for Jordan Love to be talked about as the starter and how this team is going to move forward. Or at least, with all of the public things that are going on, the Green Bay Packers damn sure need to be thinking about how do we best put Jordan Love in the best possible situation to have success. I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to check out. I said it a year ago. This is confirmation because when Schefter says it, then everybody believes it. But the bottom line is, when you have a former MVP within a year that hasn't participated in anything, that does not speak glowingly about the franchise, you know there's rifts between him and the decision makers. It's a recipe for disaster. And look, you can love your teammates, you can love your coaches. It's been a lot of people get divorces that both love their kids. And I'm gonna let Max take the floor.
I don't know why we bother, I don't know why I bother to give takes sometimes so far in advance that it takes a while for everyone else to catch up, but you hear the operative phrase in what Schefter reported was they hope to change his mind. And what have I been saying since day one? Aaron Rodgers is the decider. He's the one who will make the decision. But I have to add a caveat. If he has the guts, if Rodgers has the guts to do it, he will play for the team he chooses and only for the team he chooses. That's 100%. He will decide. I said from the beginning, the Packers have to change Aaron Rodgers' mind. And I thought the best shot they had to do that, like the best shot they had, was to humble themselves publicly. I don't think they've done that yet. I don't think he's satisfied. And I don't think until they do, he will be satisfied, and maybe it's too late. But Marcus, he has to be willing to go to the mat. In other words, he has to be willing to sit out the season. Because once they become convinced of that, just put yourself in the Packers' position. All right, we don't have Aaron Rodgers, even if we don't think Jordan Love is ready. Do we want nothing for him? Well, but it's a big cap hit, blah, blah, blah. Do we want nothing for him? Or should we take 3 first-round picks, a good player, and like a 4th-round pick? Because that's what the package would look like. Now, here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Rodgers is also going to decide where he goes to play. If he has the guts, Rodgers now needs the guts to follow through and be willing to sit out a season. And then he won't have to. Let me give a parallel here. In the NBA, Anthony Davis wanted to play for the Lakers. That was no mystery to anybody, right? The Celtics wanted Anthony Davis. So Rich Paul, who actually has a responsibility, has an ongoing relationship with all these teams, right? You have to tell the Celtics, he's not going to re-sign there. It's not where he wants to be. What happens when an agent starts telling all the other teams that is their offers come down. They're not going to give up everything they have for a rental, right? So now the price comes down to the point where the Lakers could afford Anthony Davis. They didn't have enough trading chits to get Anthony Davis unless everyone else's price came down. So he let everyone know, I'm not playing for you. I want to play for the Lakers. Same thing here. If Aaron Rodgers lets, for example, all the teams know, I want to play for Denver. Now Denver can afford him. They can get him. And the Packers will certainly take that offer instead of getting nothing. But Marcus, this all depends now that we're at the 11th hour. Does Rodgers have the guts to follow through with what he wants?
Max, I love that you said that, and I love that we got good vibes and you and I don't have to disagree. The point that you just made about Aaron Rodgers is the key, and I'm with you. I've said it as well. Aaron Rodgers holds the cards. All this damn leverage talk about the Green Bay Packers and the money that he's going to have to get back, and I keep telling people, you don't think that Aaron Rodgers knows that? Like, we're not having this damn conversation without Aaron Rodgers being up to speed on all of the things that can transpire based on him not showing up to the Green Bay Packers as well. That's why originally when we started this conversation, I said the Green Bay Packers better start focusing on Jordan Love. They better start rallying this team and these players in this locker room better start rallying around this young quarterback. I don't know if he's going to be good or not. I don't know if he has the goods to be a starter in this league. I know it's an unfair advantage. It's an unfair situation that he's walking into because the moment he's not playing well, everybody's going to be talking about, well, we could have had Aaron Rodgers if the franchise would have did the right thing. But beyond that, when we start talking about getting to the point of playing games, and to Mac's point, that's why it's so important. Aaron Rodgers has to have the guts to not only sit out, but continue to keep non-communication with the Green Bay Packers until they say something about him being moved that he likes and his agent likes and his team likes. But when we start focusing on football and we get on the field, we can get rid of all of this damn emotion that everybody is talking about over these damn ESPN airwaves about Aaron Rodgers as a football player. And at some point during the season, you're going to want to play football. And Aaron Rodgers is going to Green Bay because that's his best chance to win a Super Bowl. Do you not think that Aaron Rodgers knows all of that? All right, Aaron Rodgers is not operating in the same mind frame with all of these hopeful, optimistic people here at ESPN talking about it. I'm not naming names, damn it, they know who they are. But when we start looking forward to this picture and we start trying to make this make sense from a football standpoint, the Green Bay Packers, their brass and their coaching staff and the players around him better start focusing on Jordan Love.
Marcus, I think there's one exception to that. If I was Mark Murphy and Gutekunst, there's one exception to that because I wouldn't give up on Aaron Rodgers yet. The problem is they've never shown the humility to be serious about keeping him if Rodgers has the guts. If Rodgers doesn't have the guts, then they're right to bluff, basically, because they'll wind up with him. But if Rodgers has the guts to stick to his guns, the Packers will buckle. They have no choice, right? So they've never truly humbled themselves. Here's what I would say. If I were Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst, right, and I wasn't done with Rodgers yet, and if I were them, I wouldn't be done with him yet. I would try my best. And my best would be I'd copy down the speech from Happy Gilmore that Adam Sandler gave Chubbs. Remember Carl Weathers, right? When you are wrong, you're like, oh, he needed help. We were knocking on a Super Bowl door. We drafted the first time we ever drafted an offensive player in the first round, a skills position guy. We drafted his replacement. We didn't talk to him about it. Okay. You can't just come out with a mealy mouth, oh, we wish things were better. You have to come out and say, we were wrong, you were right. We are stupid, you are smart. You are attractive, we are not very good looking. You have to do the whole Adam Sandler speech from Happy Gilmore. You have to humble yourself publicly at a press conference and beg him to stay. And I forgot who suggested this. It wasn't me. It was someone else. I think it may have been Louis Riddick. Trade Jordan Love. You got to trade. You have to say, look, this is nothing against Jordan Love. This is the mistake we made for Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers, we're committed to you. Here's the biggest guarantee in history. We are trading the guy that we brought in to replace you, and we are sorry. If they do that, I think they have a chance. But it's all based on the premise that Rodgers will decide. If he has the guts, you're not going to be able to strong-arm him. You're going to have to convince him.
All right. No. I understand what you're saying. You made great points. But, Marcus, what do you think about that? I understand the public apology, humbling yourself, owning up to your mistakes. But you think they got to get rid of Love?
Hell no. I don't. Listen. And then what? If you get rid of Jordan Love to appease Aaron Rodgers, then what? Because if Aaron Rodgers hurts, let's just hypothetically say that Aaron Rodgers comes back and plays for the Green Bay Packers. You're going to be right back in this situation in a year. The dude is not happy. It doesn't have anything to do with Jordan Love at this point. It's all about the personal feelings towards Mark Murphy and Gutekunst. And then to have that, all right, so this is two-part. Because this notion drives me absolutely crazy. So what the hell the Green Bay Packers supposed to do? They supposed to not take a quarterback ever as long as Aaron Rodgers is a starter. Aaron Rodgers is in his feelings about that Jordan Love situation, which I don't agree with him on that. Marcus. I agree that he may have felt disrespect. What's up, Max?
I would not trade Jordan Love if I didn't. I would not trade Jordan Love if I didn't have to. But my question to you is, if they came out and humbled themselves the way I'm suggesting, and they thought that there was some give in Aaron Rodgers. If you were in the front office, would you pick up the phone and say, Aaron, would you put out feelers at least to his agent to find out, would it make a difference if we traded Jordan Love? And if they said yes, would you do it to keep Aaron Rodgers?
I would not, Max, because I think that sets a precedent for the Green. Remember, the Green Bay Packers were thriving before Aaron Rodgers, and they got to have a plan after Aaron Rodgers. And I get it. We all living in the now. But I'm gonna drop this little tea into the cup as well. Aaron Rodgers been their starter, and they ain't won a damn Super Bowl. So if we all think that Aaron Rodgers this particular year, where you want to hamstring your franchise going forward with a guy that you don't know if he's going to want to be there anyway after this year, you better be guaranteeing me a Super Bowl. Yes, you got the best chance to win one with Aaron Rodgers, and we all know that. But you ain't won one with him, with the team that you built around him.
Well, you won one.
Raise your hand if you think Aaron Rodgers is staying. Oh, interesting. All right. Your good vibes changed a little since you've been on that show, so I need you to get a cold beverage, regroup, and then come back to me and bring your best self back to our screens. We'll talk to you in a hot second. Thank you. When we come back, Team USA got 17, and the Americans took control from the outset, 108-80. Here's Bradley Beal on the pulse of the team.
Our biggest thing is we have to realize it's not the NBA, and Coach Pop keep re-emphasizing that every single day. It's way more physical. Guys are smarter. These guys have been playing together for 5-10 plus years. So they have this experience and the chemistry, and we're trying to develop that in a short period of time. So, sense of urgency is kind of, what we're kind of preaching, but at the same time, every single day we have to get better. And that's how we're taking it. We're taking it a day at a time. Today we got better. Still a lot more we can improve on, but we're moving in the right direction.
Future Hall of Famer Vince Carter joining us now. Vince, what's going on? How we doing?
I'm doing well. All is good.
I just got to ask you one thing. Producers are going to kill me, but I've always wanted to ask you this. You played 22 years in the NBA. How do you have that longevity? Is it just amazing genes, or did you have this incredibly clean diet? Did you go to bed at 8 o'clock? Give me one tip, one thing.
And this is going to sound corny and just so underwhelming, but it's the willingness to do whatever it takes to stick around. Honestly, for me, it was just I had a laundry list of things to do, and you mentioned some of them: of working out, eating healthy, getting to the arena early to get that motor started. But if I wasn't willing to stick to my game plan and stick to that laundry list of things to do, I wouldn't be around. And some people will see it and be like, oh, okay, well, I can do 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And not do the other 5 or 6 that's left off the list. And that's when, if you continue to chop that list off, you're out of the league.
Can I say something about that real quick before we move on? What impressed me so much, Vince, is that I know it's off topic, but you weren't just you stuck around because you were willing to adapt your game and become a different kind of player and a different kind of role. But because you were willing to do that, not all superstars are. You not only hung around for those years, you were a valuable contributor on every team. Like you were a player that any team would want to have, even super late into your career. It's very few guys have ever done that.
Yeah. Thanks for indulging me.
Thanks, first of all, Max. And let me say this: I felt it was humbling. Obviously going to a reserve role, and as you get older, how can I stick around, and what am I willing to accept? And I still had to make sure that jump shot was still working. And, as long as you're making shots, you'll stick around.
It was wet late in your career.
Yeah.
You know it.
All right. But a ton of respect, honestly, for that discipline and consistency and longevity. It's remarkable. All right. You also won a gold medal. So are we too concerned about Team USA, Vince? Talk to me.
Anytime the U.S. team lose, it's of concern, no doubt. But I think the conversation in the locker room, I hear people talking about the roster. Well, the roster is what it is. We can't do anything about that. So how do you fix it? Well, I think on the defensive side, first and foremost, on-ball defending and the three-point line, guarding the three-point line. Nigeria shot the lights out from the three-point line, and it made them vulnerable on the dribble drive. Because now you're trying to close out late, pump fake, they're getting in the paint. Patty Mills right here, like shooting the fadeaway 3, but then he's able to get into the paint and getting layups. I mean, you don't see him doing that in the NBA game. So that is the thing. Look at that. Just on a Kevin Durant type guy, that's things you cannot allow in this game because you're going to see Jokic, you may see Gasol. And a few other bigs, Gobert, not really a offensive threat like that. When I'm talking about as far as having size, they have enough and they have enough scoring, but you still have to guard the ball to keep them out of the paint because and I think establishing roles when we need scoring, here's who we have: Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal, and of course Booker, and maybe you can put Middleton when they get there. Those are our guys, and everybody else kind of falls in line after that. I think that is the concern of understanding what's what. And then in the last thing I'm going to add is the schedule. These guys are not trying to get their legs back. Maybe took it for granted. Oh, this is just an exhibition, kind of like preseason. You go through the motions, blah, 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 blah. Well, it's a little different when you're losing in the exhibition game, talking about the Olympics, because it's a lot on the line representing your country more so than playing a preseason game going into an 82-game season.
I think we are appropriately concerned about this team, Vince. Look, when we send, and Pop and Bradley Beal were talking about this at the press conference, when we send a team like this, first of all, this is not our very best team. Our best roster would be Steph, Harden, Kawhi, if everyone was healthy. Steph, Harden, Kawhi, LeBron, KD. And our sixth man would probably be AD. And our seventh man would be Damian Lillard, right? So what we have on this roster is one starter and our seventh man as our two best players probably on this team. So it's not our very best team. When we send our very best, it's like the Brooklyn Nets. Well, they didn't play together long enough. The Brooklyn Nets, if they would have stayed healthy, were going to lay waste to everybody. They were destroying the Bucks, and they weren't even healthy. So that's what we do. We put together these guys who don't have multi-year commitments to the Olympics or to Team USA, but they're so good, they just can't lose. They can't lose. Okay, that's not this team. When we go down off our very best, the world is caught up. Most of these teams that we've lost to or that are competing with us have 3 or 4 NBA players, 3 or 4 EuroLeague players, right? A half dozen dudes at least who can play. They have played together for a long time. They know each other. So I liken it to like in the NCAA tournament. The one and dones don't usually win the whole thing. You know, teams with upperclassmen, they've been together for 2, 3, 4 years. Maybe they have 2 or 3 guys who might be in an NBA rotation. They don't have a whole bunch of top picks. Those teams win it. You know, sometimes if you have AD, you have the number 1 and 2 picks in the draft, right? Okay, fine. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, you're going to win the championship because you just got too much. But that's usually not the way it works, and that's not the team we sent. So they're going to have to play defense. They're going to have to get connected. They're going to have to hurry up and do that because these other teams want it more. Most of their players, this is the biggest stage they'll ever play on. It's the most important thing to them. Not the case with most of our guys. And they've played together longer. They have better chemistry. So, Vince, to me, it's like you can have an all-star roster, let's say 3 starters and a couple reserves. If they play and they just got together that week, if they play an NBA team that didn't make the playoffs, but they've been together for a year or 2, they might lose to that team, even if they're more talented. To me, that's where we are, and I'm nervous about it.
Well, also, and you look at the Australian team, I mean, they had 5 guys at one point on the floor that all play in the NBA currently, like you said. And I think I'm looking back to 2000, my year. And, you know, it was 92. You know what that is, 96, and then there was our team, and they were like, oh, can we win it? And, you know, it was like, oh, it's more parity because there's more European players now entering in the NBA who know these players, and it's not the wow or awe factor anymore. Mm-hmm. And these guys are like, yeah, I mean, I play against these guys every day. They can actually give you a scouting report on these guys, not like, oh, we watched them on TV. It's like, I know what to expect. So I think the first 2 games, these guys kind of like, yeah, we're trying to get ourselves back into it. Some of them may be tired. I mean, just imagine what Booker, Holiday, and Middleton are going to feel like when they get back, just tired. So I think that they need to get their legs under them. You know, that's something Pop talked about. And just understand, no, we need to go and dominate like we're supposed to. I think they're good enough. They have enough scoring. And the biggest adjustment I think Pop made was putting a scoring starting 5 in there instead of defensively. And because you can switch everything. They're going to switch regardless, but they needed scoring. They needed scoring, particularly if you don't have your legs.
Yeah. And Vince, it didn't hurt that they heard all the chirping from all of us here on television to get it going with that lopsided win. All right, so 2 more exhibition games, then they begin Olympic play against France. And I really wanted to show that ridiculous dunk you had against France. We can't.
Oh, yeah, He's not even allowed in the country of France after that Frederick Weiss dunk.
Banned for life. Give me like your top 2 dunks ever. I just want an excuse to show the footage.
Well, it's unfortunate we can't show that because there's a wonderful story behind it because I didn't realize it. But you know, most talked about to me is the Alonzo Mourning dunk. You know, for a lot of reasons. I mean, historic. I mean, top 5 all-time shot blocker or whatnot. And just having a conversation with RJ prior to that at halftime, and then it came to fruition. And then, you know, then the dunk against the Pacers. And both of these dunks, you know, honestly were protecting myself. The first dunk on Zoe, I protected myself to take the hit, and that's what was the result. The dunk against the Pacers, they had the Bruise brothers. You know, so I see Dale Davis coming down on the one side of the paint. So I said, let me go to the other side of the rim. And, you know, fortunate for me that it was right there and I dunked the ball backwards. But I was protecting myself. That's why I turned my body against Zoe. And that's why I reverse dunk. You see here on the baseline drive, I see Dale Davis coming. So I'm like, no, I'm going to the other side.
The range of players he's played against, just looking at this footage, Max.
I know, right?
It's unbelievable. It's like all grainy and then last year. It's ridiculous. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, the Frederick Weiss dunk, like, you need to apologize to Frederick Weiss, to his family, to his ancestors. I mean, you know, like, what? You must feel some remorse somewhere. That was remorseless, Vince. Do you ever watch that and be like, damn, man, that wasn't even right what I did to that man?
I still am wowed by it because I didn't know that happened during the game. I found out after the game of actually what happened. And, you know, I won't tell all the story, but, you know, you can look it up. There were some stories that Frederick Weiss had a rough time dealing with this, you know, with his
health.
Hard
to watch.
Yeah.
You know, you know, and like you said, not being allowed in his country, and he had to play in Spain. And all of these, he's now allowed back. He's now back in France, and I know he's a broadcaster at some level. So I'm glad he's doing well now. I'll say that.
No, really interesting story.
Imagine a dunk sending someone's life sideways. That's a dunk.
Unbelievable. So great having you on. A story time with Vince anytime. 8:30, both streaming live on the ESPN app. One app, one tap. Let's go. Giannis has scored 50 paint points over his last 2 games. Only one other player has recorded at least 50 points in the paint over a 2-game span in a single final series over the last 25 seasons. That player? Shaquille O'Neal. Giannis averaging over 17 points in the restricted area in the finals. Shaq is the only other player that has averaged that many points in the restricted area in a single final series over the last 25 postseasons. In the comparisons, they don't stop there, y'all. In Game 3, Giannis made 14 shots within 5 feet of the basket, which was more than the entire Suns team combined over the last 25 postseasons. Only one other player's made that many shots that close to the hoop in the finals. You guessed it, Shaq.
I'm not trying to, focus in what people, have to say about, my game and how I should play. But it always comes back to me, and what I believe in, how I can get better, and what I see 2, 5, 10 years down the road. I believe that year by year, if I'm healthy and I keep working hard by the grace of God, I'm going to keep getting better as a player. I'm going to be more effective. But going down the, the line, the road, I feel like, yeah, I can get better. I don't think I'm there yet, but I feel like I get way better. But the specific things, that I have to do, that I believe I can get better, and I'm willing to do it.
Always getting better. Get this convo percolating. That would be percolating with a K. Max, I'm going to start with you, though. What do these finals mean for Giannis's legacy?
Oh, my God, everything. Could you imagine if he hyperextends his knee in Game 4 of the conference finals, and then they win. Then they get into the conference finals. Without Giannis, they never did that before, but without Giannis, now they do that. Oh, that's bad. If he doesn't show up, that's bad. It's not just the upside. It was the potential downside. But for him to show up on the hyperextended knee and play the way he's played, particularly in games 2 and 3, is enhancing his legacy, in such a big way. But again, it's not just the upside, it's the swing, it's the pendulum. It went from, oh my God, this is a disaster, Giannis. You guys were getting smoked by Brooklyn. You only got advanced because Brooklyn was hurt. Otherwise, you certainly would not have advanced. And even under those circumstances, when LeBron and AD aren't there in the West, and all these, you have a path here. Even under those circumstances, you guys only get in once you get hurt. It would have been disaster, and instead it's so good for him. There's a reason that Shaq identified Giannis as the first guy since he retired he can have the Superman nickname. Because he is, the modern game has changed. He's not as big and strong as Shaq and everything, but he's our version of that. Physically dominant. And when he imposes himself and gets some help, right? At home, he got some help. On the road, he didn't get as much help. When he gets some help, you can see in the finals, he's playing at finals MVP level, just as Shaq always did.
You know what, Max? I agree with you. Let me say this. As far as with Giannis' legacy, he's polarizing, okay? He's the most dominant player in the game today. And if Giannis takes it to another level and win this championship and wins finals MVP, then I think we ought to give him the credit as being the best player in the game of basketball, right? Dethrone LeBron James, Kevin Durant, whoever else. What he's doing right now, putting on display in these finals in Game 2 and Game 3, is phenomenal. Now, I will say this, okay? You have to credit Giannis' teammates for also putting him in position, especially in Game 3, to be successful. I thought Jrue Holiday, I thought Chris Middleton did a great job of feeding the bear. They fed him. You look at games 1 and 2, Giannis had a total of 9 post-ups. You look at game 3, Giannis had a total of 10 by himself. He was demanding the ball in the paint. All his points came either from the free throw line or 5 feet of 5 feet in front of the basket. He did not take that many threes. He was playing the center position like Max always talk about. When I look at Giannis and the way that he's dominating, the way that he's imposing his will playing around the basket, being a live threat to the basket, playing those dunker spot areas, being in the paint to get offensive rebounds. This is what Giannis do. This is what he always should do. And when he does that and buys into his role, he's one of the best, but he's the most dominant player in the NBA.
So here's the question now, Perk. Are you dressed for a funeral because you're ready to lay to rest your Batman Robin take? Are you ready to lay that take to rest? You said Middleton was Batman and Giannis is Robin. Is that why you're dressed for a funeral today?
No, actually, I look pretty damn good, to be honest. Some people say I look like a 6'10", 300 version pound of March Chestnut. But look, to answer your question, I'm not laying anything to rest. And here's why, right? Look, just because you're the most dominant player, Max, and you know this, doesn't mean that you're the best player. Am I saying Chris Middleton is a better player than Giannis? No, I'm not saying that. When it comes down to possession by possession, when it matters the most, like when we witnessed in Game 6, Game 7 in the Brooklyn series, who had the ball in his hands? Who was making those timely shots? It was Chris Middleton. When you look at the Atlanta series when they closed them out, what did Chris Middleton do? He took over. We have yet to see a possession by possession game in this series because each home team has blown the opponent out, right? So we haven't been able to see a fourth quarter where the lead changes and we see what?
Perk, I thought Tom Brady was going to fall off a cliff. And then he won yet another Super Bowl and had a great season. I had to retire. It was wrong. It was wrong. It's okay. You could be wrong. You brought up the Batman and Robin metaphor, the analogy, okay, the metaphor. Shaq and Kobe, right? Shaq won all 3 finals MVPs, and he was the guy who put you in a position to win, and then Kobe took you there. He was the closer. Giannis puts them in a position to win, and then Middleton or Holiday or whoever wants to step up can help you close. That doesn't make them Batman. Giannis is still Batman, and in terms of the way they play, that's Alfred or Commissioner Gordon's problem. That's the coach. That's Budenholzer. That's not Giannis. Giannis is Batman. Can I hear you say Giannis is Batman, please, on this team? How could Giannis not be Batman on this team?
No, listen. Giannis is the best player, okay? And look, I'm not going back and forth with you about Batman, Robin, Superman, Spider-Man. I'm not doing that today. I just gave Giannis his card and called him the most. I just gave him his card and said he's the most dominant player in the NBA. But when it comes down to when it matters the most, closing time, which we haven't seen yet, right? We haven't saw it in this series. We haven't seen when it comes down to possession by possession. They trade.
Centers don't close. Bigs don't close.
Oh, Max, this is what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying. You've been a Chris Middleton fan for the longest. Now you sitting up here turning your back on him. You know Chris Middleton's skill set. You know that he's a guy that shoots 90, 40, 50. I heard you discredit the Milwaukee Bucks earlier, but I'm going to let that slide talking about Malcolm Brogdon and Drew Holiday is no Malcolm Brogdon. Whatever you and Keyshawn
No.
about earlier,
There's no Chris Paul.
What did you say?
I said the reason they have Drew Holiday and not Chris Paul is they didn't have the assets to go get Chris Paul because they played Milwaukee cheap and let Brogdon walk out the door. I'm not downing Drew Holiday. I'm just saying Chris Paul's a better player.
They still in the finals, and I'm not arguing that Chris Paul is the better. But they still. So what, Max? Injuries happen. Injuries happen throughout the playoffs. We could go down the history of the NBA Finals or NBA champions. Injuries happen. But I'm going to go on a limb and say this, all right, because you know I'm stubborn. I'm like an old person. I'm stuck in my ways.
Got an old soul.
Giannis is the most Yeah, you're right, an old soul. Giannis is the most dominant player in the NBA. And look, if Giannis wins a championship and he wins Finals MVP, I will come back on First Take and Big Perk will say, you know what, Max, I was completely wrong. And then I will go extra and above and beyond and say that Giannis is the best player in the NBA. How about that, Max?
I don't know. I wouldn't say he's the best player in the NBA if he wins the finals this year. I don't think.
Who is?
Perk, my dad's a shrink, and what I would tell you is I think unconsciously you wore this outfit today because you know you got to lay that take to rest.
Max knows about
No, I
laying
just
takes
feel
to
good.
rest because he's the one who invented the cliff. All right. So
I brought that up. I agree.
it takes one to know one.
And Molly, what did I do when proven
first.
wrong? I said I was wrong. New facts,
it
new
took
opinions.
you a while. We'll give Perk a minute.
Oh, that's
Well,
true. That's true.
It took
I didn't admit it on day one, did I?
5 years, but you did admit it, so I
eventually.
give you props for
Eventually.
that. All right, we'll keep it rolling, guys. Word on the street is Ben Simmons may be traded this offseason. Wait till you hear Max Kellerman's trade idea that would cause shockwaves around the league. Plus, there are some outstanding wide receiver duos in the NFL right now, but which one is the greatest in NFL history? Don't miss Max and Marcus Spears when they get into that. With Ben Simmons. Simmons took a lot of the blame for Philly's second-round playoff exit at the hands of the Atlanta Hawks. According to The Athletic, the Sixers are looking to trade Simmons and would like to get an all-star caliber player in return. Here to help us with that, Monica McNutt. How we doing? I like the orange lady, looking beautiful. But now I need your analysis.
Oh, Monica.
Tell me this. Can the Sixers get an all-star for Ben Simmons?
So
Yes.
straight up, Molly, I'm not gonna get hung up on All-Star. Oh, was it me or Max?
No, go
it's
ahead.
you.
Go,
It's
Monica.
you.
All right, I'm not gonna get hung up on All-Star. I'm gonna go with the whole phrase, guys. All-Star caliber, right? And so I think that, to me, that indicates maybe some fringe guys who, depending on who you talk to, maybe you talk to their local media coverage, they easily should have been All-Stars. They put up numbers. But I also think that the unique part of this is gonna be the position. And so someone that comes to mind for me is actually a guy like C.J. McCollum, who last year maybe didn't have his best signature year, but still is in the prime of his career, can shoot the three, can move back to that natural point guard position, and would give you a little bit of chutzpah on the defensive side of the ball. I just think this Philadelphia 76ers squad is so close, and while Ben Simmons' debacle in the playoffs was so glaring, we would all be doing a disservice to this unit to put it all on him. And so, yes, Ben has room to grow and things he needs to address in his game, but let's not act like he's a guy that's been on two-way deals over the course of his contract.
I think it is fair to put it mostly on Simmons and Doc. Doc was going to rotations 10 deep, playing all bench units, and Simmons couldn't hit a shot. It was like psychotic. He had like an episode. And it's been a problem in his development. Now we're hearing he's not working hard enough on his game and all that. Monica, I think you got the right team. I think you got the wrong player. And by the way, I trust Daryl Morey to make the right kind of deal, right? Like he'll find value. But let me tell you why I think you got the wrong player. I think we're all too hung up on what you can get for Simmons. Like find equal weight on the other side. What if you expanded the deal? If I were to say, or which team you think says no, I'll say Simmons, I'll say Thibault, I'll give you a player who maybe has some offensive upside like Maxey and draft picks, but I want Damian Lillard. Because how is Portland going to get better right now? How are they? They are stuck where they are. If I sent you Thibault and Simmons, now you can defend and slow down those high-powered offenses in the Western Conference. Meantime, you're actually buying low on Simmons. There's upside there. You also still have shooting. You look at, and by the way, like someone like Anthony Simons, right? Like we'll see. But McCollum, you still got him. Powell, you still got him. Covington, you still got shooting. You have defense. You can play five out with Simmons as your point guard, right? The way they did it in Milwaukee with Giannis, except Simmons has better handles, better court vision, and is a better passer. Just can't shoot at all. Meantime, the Sixers get a superstar to pair with Embiid, who in the playoffs could actually maybe help deliver them a championship. Who says no to that deal?
Max, it's enticing, but I actually think there's a world in which Portland says no to that deal. If they give you Dame right now, that sets them all the way back. Are the pieces that you mentioned, do they have futures in the league? 100%. But right now, I mean, if Portland believes that their best opportunity to contend is to keep Dame in place, they can't. I just don't see Portland being able to do that right now. To me, if you lose Dame, you lose the head of the snake easily. There's no question about that in terms of what Portland does. And all those pieces you mentioned, Portland says no. Portland says no, Max.
Maybe, but I don't know that that's the right move for them. You're probably right because Damian Lillard means so much for them. But when you say you have to go back to the beginning of what? They ain't doing anything. Portland ain't doing anything now. They're not advancing in the playoffs, really. They're not making deep runs. We don't expect them to make deep runs. They don't have enough. They don't have cap room. They're not a location free agents are pounding down the door to be at, right? There are better teams in the conference that are only going to get better. But what I'm saying is you get Ben Simmons now, who has superstar. He does everything except for shoot the ball. You still have plenty of shooting. And Thibault, in terms of the piece, like Maxey is a piece who would have to develop draft picks, yes. But Thibault's already one of the best defenders in the NBA. Monica, already, he's only going to get better.
I got you. It definitely would set Portland back. Now, on the flip side, in terms of what it could do for the Sixers, yes, that is super juicy. That puts them in the upper echelon. I mean, they already were this year in terms of where they finished in the Eastern Conference. And I agree. Dame is a guy that puts them over the top. Have we seen the last of Dame and his loyalty? Portland can't do it. I think if you can make it work with CJ McCollum, he moves back to his natural one position. That's sort of it is.
But
a little
I'm
bit
saying
more
no to
even in
that.
my mind.
I'm saying saying no to that if I'm the Sixers. CJ McCollum, a small guard who can shoot and play.
But what are you?
I'm saying no to that.
Where else are you going if you're the Sixers? If that's your option, you're saying no because you believe you can get better? I think that's a piece that, to me, doesn't ruffle too many feathers. You put him in your big three with Harris and Embiid. He's going to play his role. He's going to hit shots. He'll defend. To me, it's just a clean
Monica,
switch.
that's not a big three. That's not a big three. Harris is in no big three. He's not a part of, and neither is McCollum. But McCollum maybe is the third piece in a big three if there's a big drop-off between 2 and 3, and I like McCollum. But let's be honest. The Sixers are knocking at the door. They're the ones who you have to ask, how much do you want to change things? Portland is stuck. If I'm Portland and I could get defensively way better overnight, and also, I don't know, when you say it sets them back, I think Portland, in the deal I'm suggesting, Portland actually is better next year than they are this year, better next year than they are already, and in the future going to be significantly better. And in the meantime, Philadelphia, Lillard has a chance to win a championship while he's still a great player. Monica, it works. If it doesn't work.
For Philly, it's great, Max. I'll give it to you. For Philly, it's fantastic. But for Portland, how did you get better? You got to talk to me on how you got better. Because you buy into these young guys and now we're going to play super duper team basketball under our new coach? Because you no longer have a guy, to me.
Well, I don't know. You were just selling me on McCollum. So you have Simmons and McCollum, right? Is that two of a big three? You still have Powell. You still have Covington. You're talking about Portland now. You have Anthony Simons, who's you have Maxey for the future. Thibault, you have one of the best defensive players in the league. You match up defensively now with those high-powered, high-octane Western Conference offensive units, and you also still have some offensive firepower.
Listen, that team would play good defense. That would be a defensive unit for sure. I'm not sold on the firepower piece because I think Dame is that important in terms of setting everybody else up. Covington, Powell, all those guys, tremendous double-digit year career NBA guys in terms of being role players. But who's the head of the snake? If I get CJ to Philly, he doesn't have to be the head of the snake because it's very clear to me that Joel Embiid is the guy.
Simmons has created more open looks, Ben Simmons, from 3 for his teammates than anyone in the NBA since he's entered the league. If you surround him with shooters, if you go Simmons and play 5 out with shooters, you can have a Milwaukee Bucks-style offense with Giannis, only the guy has better handles, better court vision, and he's a better passer than Giannis. But otherwise, he can do a lot of the same things Giannis can do on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, but if you're Simmons, do you want to go to Portland? Where do you want to go if you're him?
I don't want to go to Portland, but...
I don't know how much options he has, but then Max, so you're completely in on just get Simmons out of Philly, and what we saw that finished the playoffs was just an outlier.
Who? Simmons?
For Simmons.
No, I think Simmons clearly has an issue with shooting. Look, the ideal place for Simmons, if you want to talk about where Simmons should go, you know where the best place for him actually would be? They couldn't get him, I don't know. Would be the Lakers, because in LeBron, you need to pair him with a player who has the gravitas to say, hey, kid, you're not going out tonight. You're working on your game. Yeah. A player like him, and that's LeBron, right? Like, that would be ideal for Simmons' development as a player. I just don't know how the Lakers would swing that.
Okay. I actually kind of like that, but yeah, I don't know if it's feasible.
How are they going to get him? Has he been that devalued?
Simmons attempted 1 shot outside the paint in 12 postseason games. I will leave you with that. Monica, thank you kindly. We will talk to you soon.
Nice to see you.
Thanks, guys.
Christian McCaffrey, by all accounts, the first running back that will go in fantasy football drafts this summer, but Max Kellerman says he's got a different one in mind. I hear Marcus Spears is coming back for more of that good stuff. Stay here.
This is Stephen B. Smith today. That's your B game, brother.
I could have a C game and wax your behind any day of the week, please.
Deluded if you think you've ever waxed me.
You shouldn't even be allowed on TV to go against me.